Hey, what's up, nerds? It's Shane with Guys at Magic, and that's Hunter.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Welcome to another video. Today we're going to be doing the $100 upgrade for Jump Scare, the new Precon out of Duskmorn. We're very excited about this. We all got our decks and we all got our upgrades. This video is going to be focusing on the $100 upgrade of the Face Commander. But if you'd like to see our backup of the $100 backup commander, that'll be over on our Patreon. So link in the description. Check it out down there. But Hunter, you got $100. Tell me about this commander and tell me what you did with it.
Yeah, so Jump Scare. We're being all spooky and scary up there in Duskmorn. But our commander is Zimone, Mystery Unraveler. She's 2 green-blue for a 3/3 legendary creature human wizard. It's got landfall. It says whenever a land you control enters, manifest dread. If this is the first time this ability has resolved this turn. Otherwise, you may put a permanent you control face up. So in case you don't remember what Manifest Dread is, it says to Manifest Dread, look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one onto the battlefield face down as a 2/2 creature and the other into your graveyard. Turn it face up anytime for its mana cost if it's a creature card. So the whole name of the game is lands matter, right? Because we were a landfall deck. We really want to focus on landfall as well as Manifest Dread. So we want to cheat in big stuff, flip them over if we get multiple lands, because I would much rather just flip it over for free than have to pay for that mana cost of something that's upside down. And I
I would too.
love Manifest Dread here because you get that option of picking what card you want to put on the battlefield and the other one goes into the grave.
Yeah, Manifest Dread is going to be super awesome, man.
Mm-hmm.
This looks like a very fun commander. You normally don't play Simic. I know it's kind of out of your comfort zone, but I'm glad that you're getting it. I want to see what you do with it. So let's just jump into it, dude. Start talking to me about some additions.
Yeah, so always what I do with these upgrades is I look at the set itself that the deck came from. I take the best cards from the set and put it directly into this deck. So these cards are all brand new from Duskmorn. So the first brand new card that I'm throwing in here is Abhorrent Oculus. It's 2 and a blue for a 5/5 creature eye. It says, as an additional cost to cast this spell, exile 6 cards from your graveyard. It's got flying, and it says, at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, Manifest Dread. This card just fits so well in this deck. If we can get that onto the field face down as a 2/2, and then flip it over for 3 later, or just, if we play another land, we could flip it over just for free. That's pretty good. This is going to trigger our commander. Well, basically what the deck wants to do is just Manifest Dread, and this is perfect.
Yep. The big downside of exiling 6 kind of sucks, but like you said, getting around that with manifesting it is fantastic. This card's going to pull some weight in your deck, dude.
Speaking of pulling weight, a card that I'm surprised wasn't in the Precon, because they like to throw like commons and uncommons from the set itself into the Precon. This card should be in the deck. It's Paranormal Analyst. It's 1 and a blue for a 1/3 creature human detective. It says whenever you manifest dread, put a card you put into your graveyard this way into your hand.
Wow.
Yeah, wow indeed. This is Manifest Dread. You get to pick one, and then the one that you toss in the graveyard is now just in your hand.
Yeah. Hey, the reason why this is in your deck is they really want you to go buy packs. There you go.
Yeah, but I mean, usually they want you to buy packs for the rares that really fit in the deck. I mean,
I guess that's true.
uncommons, like they just kind of just put in there as like an extra. This card is too good not to be in the deck.
Yeah, this is an easy include. This is just, there's no, I wouldn't even say a downside to Manifest Dread because it's already great, but yeah, there's just like literally no downside now.
No, there's not at all. Another one that I'm throwing in is the new Green Overlord. It's Overlord of the Hauntwoods, 3 and 2 green for a 6/5 enchantment creature avatar horror. It's got an impending 4 for 1 and 2 green. So if you pay the 1 and 2 green, it gets 4 time counters, and 4 turns it'll become a creature. But it does still enter. So it says whenever it enters or attacks, create a tapped colorless land token named Everywhere. That is every basic land type. So this card is going to help us with our landfall.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's making tapped lands. Yeah. And
I like it. The overloads are cool.
they can tap for all of our colors because they're every color. It's pretty
It's
cool.
like you're playing an Omo deck, but you're not.
But I'm not. I'm playing Overlord of the Hauntwoods.
Yeah, that's great for a landfall deck, dude.
Yeah. So those are the brand new creatures. Moving on, we got 2 other new cards that are going in here. 1 enchantment, 1 artifact vehicle. So this enchantment also, I feel like, should have been in the deck. It's uncommon. Come on, Wizards. It's called Threats Around Every Corner. It's 3 and a green for an enchantment. It says, when it enters, manifest dread. It also says whenever a face-down permanent you control enters, search your library for a basic land, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle.
Wow.
Do you see how that works?
I see how that works. That is insane ramp.
If this card is on the field, right?
Yeah.
We play a land and our commander's on the field. We put a Manifest Dread face down. That triggers this card. We go get another land, and then we could just flip the card we just Manifest Dread.
That's really good. Dang, that's yeah. So Manifest Dread's gonna be insane now.
It's pretty cool. I don't. Once again, why is this card not in the deck itself? I don't know, but
Because they wanted you to add it, okay?
Well, here it is. Another card I'm adding is Head Shredder. It's 2 and 2 green for a 5/5 artifact vehicle, and whenever it attacks, you may mill 2 cards. Probably not going to be attacking much because this second part is so good. Whenever 1 or more land cards are put into your graveyard from your library, put them onto the battlefield tapped. Crew cost of 1. So, again, if this is on the field and we Manifest Dread and we see, okay, we're going to put the creature face down, we're going to toss the land that we also just saw into the grave. That comes in onto the battlefield. That triggers our commander again, flip something over.
Head Shredder's nuts, dude. I mean, especially for your deck, like you just said, but in general, this is just a ramp monster.
It really is. Yeah, we're going to be
really good card.
If this is on the field and we just continue to Manifest Dread, just keep pitching those lands into the grave just to get them back onto the field.
That's nuts. I really like this inclusion a lot.
Yep.
So those are all the new cards that came out in this set. What about just some other good cards you're putting in?
Yeah, so moving on to some other really good creatures that just, I feel like, should be in the deck. Vanifar, Evolved Enigma from the previous kind of set. It's Murders at Karlov Manor. I guess it's 3 sets away now, but geez. 2 green, blue for a 3/4 legendary creature, Elf Ooze Wizard. It says at the beginning of combat on your turn, choose 1. You can cloak a card from your hand. In case you don't remember what that is, it's put it onto the battlefield face down as a 2/2 with ward 2 and turn it face up anytime for its mana cost if it's a creature card. So really helps the deck. Or you can just put a +1/+1 counter on each colorless creature you control, aka everything that is face down. So synergy there is really good.
Yeah, hey, different mechanic, same effect.
Different mechanic,
same but
same effect. Correct.
Same but different, dude.
Because if we were unable to Manifest Dread something that's really good in our hand that we want to kind of cheat out, Vanifar says, hey, go put that onto the battlefield face down, and then our commander can still turn it face up.
Yep. I like the synergy there, man.
Mm-hmm. And these next 2, we are a land mana deck. So Azusa Lost But Seeking is 2 no green for a 1/2 legendary creature human monk. Says you may play 2 additional lands on each of your turns.
Yep.
Easy.
I was waiting for these kind of effects to come up.
Easy to the point. And Ramanap Excavator, 2 and a green as well for a 2/3 creature snake cleric. You may play lands from your graveyard. So if we don't have the Head Shredder out and we're throwing lands into our grave, or we have fetches that we've already used, because fetches are very important to these decks as well, play them again from your grave.
Love it. This is a really good include, dude. Any kind of lands matter deck wants these, especially like you said, you're gonna be pitching stuff. Maybe by accident. No, actually, not by accident. You're just gonna be pitching stuff. Bring it back. Play it again.
Bring it back. Play it again. The next card I am throwing in is Lotus Cobra. It's 1 and a green for a 2/1 creature snake. Landfall, whenever a land you control enters, add 1 mana of any color. So we are going to be wanting to do a lot of cool stuff. And if we do have the extra mana from Lotus Cobra, just getting all those landfalls, we're going to have enough mana. Maybe we could just spend that mana just to flip something over if we didn't have our commander out.
Yeah. Great way to just build up crazy amounts when you're landfalling 1, 2, 3 lands at a time.
Mm-hmm. And something that would be really cool to cheat out, I'm throwing in here as well, is Koma Cosmos Serpent. 3, 2 green, 2 blue for a 6/6 legendary creature serpent. It says the spell can't be countered. And at the beginning of each upkeep, you create a 3/3 blue serpent creature token named Koma's Coil. It says, sacrifice another serpent, choose 1. Tap target permanent. Its activated abilities can't be activated this turn. Or Koma Cosmos Serpent gains indestructible to end a turn. I love Koma. And I feel like every time I play any kind of Simic deck, Koma has to be in it.
Koma's nuts, dude. It's going to get out of hand. It might get killed right away just because of how scary it can be. Because the whole turn cycle, yeah, you're getting so many Koma coils, and then Koma never leaves.
Yep. You're definitely going to be sacking those Koma coils to give it indestructible. And hey, if you got a way to flip this. Surprise! It's a coma.
Yeah. That is a finisher right there if I've ever seen one.
Indeed it is.
Those are all the creatures it looks like you're adding. Do you have anything in the instant department?
Yeah, I'm going to throw in 2 instants. I feel like spot removal was a little lacking, so I just threw one more in here. Pongify, 1 blue mana for an instant, destroy target creature. Can't be regenerated. Its controller creates a 3/3 green ape creature token. You kind of know what this card does. It's blue removal, and that's what I want.
Blue removal at instant speed. Love it.
Ghostly Flicker, I'm also throwing in here too. It's 2 and a blue for an instant. Exile 2 target artifacts, creatures, and or lands you control. Then return those cards to the battlefield under your control. Hey Shane, guess what happens when you flicker a face down card?
I'm going to guess it comes back into the battlefield face up.
That is correct. It comes back face up. So for 3 mana, if we had some 2 big scary things that are face down at the moment, well, you could do this at instant speed if someone's trying to attack you. Guess what? Welcome back.
Guess what? Surprise, here's a coma.
Exactly.
That's good, though. Even if it's not to flip those cards, just to save something that's going to be removed. It's really good.
Yeah, and you can also do it on lands you control too. So if you really wanted to, if you had no field and this is kind of the only card in your hand, hit the lands, you get the 2 landfall triggers.
Very true. This is a versatile card in this deck. What about artifacts? You had anything in there?
I am adding 2 artifacts as well. I'm adding the Of Worlds package, if you will. So Crucible of Worlds and Conduit of Worlds. Crucible of Worlds is 3 mana for an artifact. It says you may play lands from your graveyard. Just want those effects again, because we are going to be manifesting Dread quite often, which means stuff is going into the grave. Probably lands, just get them back. Conduit of Worlds, 2 and 2 green artifact. You may play lands from your graveyard. It also has an ability you can tap it, choose target non-land permanent card in your graveyard. If you haven't cast a spell this turn, you may cast that card. If you do, you can't cast additional spells this turn. Activate only as a sorcery. So this flexibility on Conduit of Worlds is so good here, because if we are manifesting Dread and we see 2 really good cards, oh man, you're bummed. You cast that, and then you just go, or sorry. The thing about Conduit of Worlds here is so good because it fits perfectly in this deck. If we manifest Dread and we see 2 really good cards, one is going face down on the battlefield, one is going into the grave, Conduit of Worlds can go ahead and just make you cast that back.
Yeah. Once again, no downside to Manifest Dread, which is fantastic.
Yeah, because Manifesting Dread, you're not casting that card. It's just coming onto the battlefield. So Conduit of Worlds just, hey, I'm going to cast that card.
Yeah. Love the includes, just like ramming up really good ways to get the lands back out of your graveyard.
It is.
And then it looks like we got 1 enchantment. What is this one?
Yeah, so I'm going to throw in Secret Plans. It's actually a pretty cheap card because not a lot of people use it, but in this deck, it's one of those cards that work perfect. It's green and blue, enchantment, face down, creatures you control get +0/+1, and whenever a permanent you control is turned face up, draw a card.
Yep.
Card draw.
Very good card draw in this deck, and it makes your 2/2s a little bit bigger, a little bit better to block. Pretty good. I like the include. And then lastly, we're at the lands now. Did you add anything?
I did. I added 2 lands. I think you'll probably understand why, but Fabled Passage is a fetch. Tap it, sacrifice Fabled Passage, search your library for a basic land, put it on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Then if you control 4 or more lands, untap that land. It's probably the best kind of evolving wilds effects in the game, and it helps us get that 2 landfall triggers with our commander on the field.
Yeah, I mean, it's way better than evolving wilds.
Yeah.
Being able to have it come in untapped sometimes, which it's great. And we just got a reprint of it, so it's a little cheaper. It's a really good card.
And once again, if you guys have watched all my upgrades, I always throw this card in. It's the Bond land in our colors. Rejuvenating Spring land. Enters the battlefield tapped unless you have 2 or more opponents. Guess what? We're playing EDH. Probably are having this come untapped unless it's the end game. You can tap for a green or blue.
Yep, one day they'll come in the Precon, but not today.
Still not today.
Is that going to do it for all your additions?
That is it. Those are all of my additions to this jump scare with the face commander.
Well, I'm already scared. This looks like a pretty mean landfall deck, man. You added a bunch of cool cards. Let's talk about some of the cards you're cutting to make room for them.
Yep, time to jump out of the deck, if you will. So the first one I'm actually taking out is the backup commander. Yeah, that's right. It's Kian, Corrupted Memory, 2 green blue for a 2/2 legendary creature illusion. Says as long as its power is even, You may cast non-creature spells as though they had flash. As long as its power is odd, you may cast creature spells as though they had flash. And whenever you draw a card, you put a +1/+1 counter on Kian. I love this card. This card's awesome. I love +1/+1 counters. If you guys have been watching this channel long enough, you know that is my MO. But we're trying to manifest dread. We're trying to flip over cards. This does nothing in this deck. I mean, it's cool that you'll be able to cast things for instant speed based on how many counters are on, or the power of Kian is, but it's still not doing what we want to do with the deck.
I completely agree. I kind of like when decks do this, where their backup and face kind of go in opposite directions, just because you have more to kind of build around in either way. But it makes sense because you're not doing Manifest Dread like you said. But luckily, if you do want to see this commander being built, like I originally said, they'll run our Patreon. So Hunter built a deck all around this guy, and I think it's gonna be really cool.
Yep, absolutely. It is actually really cool. Body of Knowledge is also leaving. It's 3 and 2 blue for a star creature avatar. Its power and toughness are each equal to the number of cards in your hand. You have no maximum hand size, and whenever it is dealt damage, you draw that many cards. The card is cool, and I see why it's in the deck because of Kian. It's doing the whole card draw thing that Kian wants to do. But in this deck, I'm trying to cast all of my things from my hand, and I'm playing as many lands as possible from my hand, and I just feel like its power and toughness is not going to be that great, and it's not going to do pretty much anything in this deck for 5 mana.
Yeah, I can see that. And it's a big dumb beater.
It is if you have a lot of cards in your hand, for sure. Beanstalk Giant is also leaving. It's one of those adventure cards. So the adventure part is Fertile Footsteps for 2 and a green sorcery adventure. Search your library for a basic land, put it on the battlefield tapped, and shuffle. And Beanstalk Giant is 6 and a green for a star. It says his power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control. Now, that's cool. That's a cool effect, but you just mentioned it with Body of Knowledge. Big dumb beater. I feel like Coma is probably going to be a lot better. And I feel also if you Manifest Dread this, you're not getting the Fertile Footsteps part. So this just kind of, I don't know. It's cool. It's not here.
Plus, you already added so much other ways to get land, so it's not like you're going to be missing this for too much.
Nope, not hurting at all.
Nope.
Also not hurting at all. Same situation with Yavimaya Elder. It's 1 and 2 green for a 2/1 creature human druid. It says when it dies, you may search the library for up to 2 basic land cards, reveal them, put them in your hand, then shuffle. You also pay 2, sacrifice it to draw a card. It's one of those Precon cards, really. It's cool. I don't like the fact that it's making you put them in your hand. I wish 1 came out of the field, 1 went in your hand, but here we are. It's leaving.
Yeah. Very slow. You don't need it. Precon, like you said.
Not at all. Another creature that I am removing is some people's favorite. Not in the deck specifically. It's Giggling Skitter Spike. It's 4 mana for a 1/1 artifact creature toy. It's got indestructible and says whenever it attacks, blocks, or becomes the target of a spell, it deals damage equal to its power to each opponent. And for 5 mana, it's got Monstrosity 5. It's cool.
It's a cool card. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very cool. But we're trying to Manifest Dread. If I was to Manifest Dread a 1/1 for 4 mana, it's mana intensive. It's trying to do like a wide damage effect, and that's not what our deck is trying to do at all. I love this card, and I think you should take this card and put it in another deck that wants to deal a bunch of damage, but not this one.
Yeah. Go put it in a deck like Ivy. Put it in something that you're going to be targeting it with and then dealing a bunch of damage.
Greater Tanuki. This is that card that I've been talking about over and over for the last couple of precons, I feel like, is I always remove it. It's 4 and 2 green for a 6/5 enchantment creature dog. It's got trample. It also has channel for 2 and a green. You discard this, search your library for a basic land, put it on the battlefield tapped, and shuffle. I understand why it's in the deck because it wants to do the landfall thing. But if I was to flip this over, then you're not doing the channel part, and it's just a 6/5 trampler. And in this day and age, a 6/5 trampler is not doing enough.
What a world we live in. It makes sense.
Kefnet the Mindful, 2 and a blue for a 5/5 legendary creature god. It's got flying and indestructible, and it says it can't attack or block unless you have 7 or more cards in hand. It has an ability to pay 3 and a blue, draw a card. Then you may return a land you control to its owner's hand. It's not going to do anything. I mentioned this with the last kind of body of knowledge, kind of similar situation. We're trying to play as many lands as possible. We're trying to cast as many spells as possible. So this is just going to sit on the field and can't attack, can't block, because we're not going to have that many cards in my hand.
Yep, I feel that, man. Different strategy.
Different strategy indeed. Scab Ruinator is 1 into 2 blue for a 5/6 creature zombie horror. Says as an additional cost to cast this spell, exile 3 creature cards from your graveyard. It's got flying, and it says you may cast this from your graveyard. Kind of similar situation to Greater Tanuki, which is a weird thing to say. It's a 5/6 flyer. And I just want to do a little bit more things with the other mana that I have. So Scab Ruinator, while it's a cool card, we have better cards in the deck already.
Makes sense. And then those are all the creatures you're cutting. What about some non-creature spells?
Yeah, so a couple sorcerer instants we got here. First one I'm getting rid of is Oversimplify. It's 3 green blue for sorcery. It says exile all creatures. Each player creates a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token and puts a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to the total power of creatures they controlled that were exiled this way. It's a cool board wipe in Simic. You obviously it's doing the Simic thing where it's not completely eliminating the board. Everybody gets one thing at the end. I don't like this one. We have other ways to kind of bounce things in the deck, and this is the weakest one of the bunch. And I feel like they threw this card in because it kind of came from Strixhaven, and that's what Zimone is from Strixhaven. So they just kind of put it in there for flavor.
Yeah, I don't like giving my people. I don't like getting my opponent's stuff anyways. I'm trying to kill the board. I want it gone.
Yeah, most of the times when you hit that trigger too of exiling everything, you're doing it because your opponents are kind of controlling the board a little bit more, which means you're probably giving them the biggest creature out of the bunch.
Probably not wrong.
Another one I'm getting rid of is Biomass Mutation. Weird include in this deck. X and a hybrid green-blue. Instant. Creatures you control have base power and toughness XX until end of turn.
Yeah, that is weird.
It's a weird include in this deck. It really wants to pump as much mana as you have. Obviously, we're going to have a lot of mana if we're trying to do the landfall thing. We're going to have a bunch of lands. So you could put a lot into it. But I feel like I want to use that mana to either flip over my creatures if I had them, or just play another spell. Because I get that you're trying to make the 2/2s bigger than the 2/2s. But you would need 5 mana just to make up 3/3s. And I'm not here for it.
That's weird. Yeah.
Cackling Counterpart is the final kind of non-permanent spell we're getting rid of. It's 1 and 2 blue for an instant. You create a token that's a copy of target creature you control. It's also got flashback of 5 and 2 blue. Cackling Counterpart is a weird include in this deck as well, similar to Biomass Mutation, I feel like personally. There's not a really, I mean, cool, you can copy something that's really big, but is that what our deck is trying to do? No. It's just kind of like an extra card they threw in here just as, this would be a cool effect, and it's not.
Yeah, maybe it's because it has a flashback ability. That's my only thought.
Yeah, it's a weird one.
Well, we saw you add 2 enchantments. What did we remove to make room for them?
Yeah, we're actually getting rid of 3. So Growing Dread is green and blue for an enchantment. It's got flash. When it enters, you manifest Dread. And then whenever you turn a permanent face up, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. That's, I understand. This is a new card from the set. Look, it's uncommon. See what they did there? They definitely should have thrown in threats around every corner rather than this. And that's exactly what I'm doing. This card is doing +1/+1 counters. I'm trying to draw cards.
Makes sense.
Sandworm Convergence is so expensive. 6 and 2 green for an enchantment. Creatures with flying can't attack you or planeswalkers you control. And then at the beginning of your end step, you create a 5/5 green worm creature token. Why is this card in the deck?
Unsure.
I get it. Making 5/5s at every end step that you have is really cool. But for 8 mana, is that worth it? I don't think so. This card is getting out of the deck.
Yeah, this is an interesting bulk rare.
And I know we are a landfall deck, so you'll be like, what? You're getting rid of a landfall enchantment? I am. Retreat to Coralheim. 2 and a blue for an enchantment. It's got landfall, so whenever a land enters, you can choose one. You can tap or untap target creature, or you can scry one. So It's cool. It's just not doing enough, in my opinion.
Little lackluster.
Little lackluster for the landfall. But if you wanted to keep it in the deck, you can totally keep it in the deck.
All right, and you added 2 land. Did we take any lands out to make room?
Yeah, I'm taking out 3. There's just an abundance of tapped lands in this deck, and let me tell you, it's not great. But I am also getting rid of this stupid land. If you like this land, I'm sorry that I said that, but I hate it. Temple of the False God. It's a land. You can tap it to add 2 colorless mana. Activate only if you control 5 or more lands. I know what you're saying. This is going to have a lot of lands in play. It'll tap for 2. But the thing is, it'll tap for 2 eventually, because you will draw this in your opening hand, first card off the top, and it will sit there, and you just have a landfall trigger, but the land doesn't do anything. And that's what Temple of the False God always does for me.
I understand, dude. Don't worry. I'm not one that'll fight for this card. Get it out.
Get it gone. Very similarly, when I said stuff about oversimplify, Quandrix Campus is in this deck. Once again, they're kind of fitting the theme. Zimone went here. But it's not a good land. It's a land that always enters tapped. You can tap it to add a green or blue, and you can pay 4, tap it to scry 1. No thank you.
Pretty solid, dude.
No thank you. And Tangled Islet is a land forest island. Always enters tapped. I tap for green or blue. That's it. Why do we have these cards? Why do we have these cards in this deck? Come on.
I don't know, because it's a budget deck, dude.
Yeah.
Is that going to do it for your cuts?
That is going to do it. That are all my additions and cuts for this jump scare deck.
Right on. Well, with a budget of $100, if you went and picked up all these additions, what does it come out to?
At the time of recording, this is still before the set comes out, so we do have pre-order prices on those brand new cards, but I do expect them to drop just a little bit. But, like I said, time of recording, $99.16.
Okay. Under budget. Love it.
Under budget. That's right.
Do you have any final thoughts on this deck?
Yeah, final thoughts are landfall trigger decks are a lot of fun. I own a landfall deck myself, and land's kind of matter deck, if you will. That's what I'm trying to do with this card, but also I really wanted to hyper focus on the mechanic of Manifest Dread, because I feel like this is a big improvement to Manifest, Disguise, Morph, all those kind of effects. And yes, you can definitely go ahead and build with more of the Morph, Disguise, Manifest cards. But yeah, I'm a big fan of this deck. I feel like it hums really well. And if you guys wanted to play test it yourself, check the link to my deck list right down below.
All right. Couldn't have said it better myself. All right, guys. Well, give Hunter some feedback. Maybe leave a comment. Let him know whether or not you agree with all of his additions and all of his cuts. I know, this is just our personal build, so I'm sure someone did it a little bit different. We'd like to hear about it. Also in the description, where you'll find the link to his Mox build, you'll also find the link to our Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. It's all going to be at Guys at Magic. On screen right now, these are all of our Patreon members. If you want to see what they're seeing, which is the backup of this, the backup commander being upgraded, it's over on our Patreon. So follow the link in the description and consider subscribing. And until the next video, when we do our 300, we'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Peace.